Hi, everybody. Captain Lou here with another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube and, of course, on our Facebook page, the Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page. Follow us on X as well at The Real Captain Lou. We invite you to subscribe to our channels, especially on YouTube, the Captain Lou Sports Network. You can get all of our previews of all 8 divisions of the National Football League and then, of course, the major college predictions, previews, the conference previews. We're going to have all of that here in the month of August as we get you set for the football season, starting up with college on Labor Day weekend. And then, of course, right after that, the 2025 NFL season kicks in. Again, everybody, yours truly, Captain Lou in the chair. We've got a great show planned for you tonight. As coming up here in a little while, we're going to bring you an interview we did with Mike Vrabel from Sports Illustrated covering the New England Patriots. A little different scenario for them this year with a new head coach, Mike Vrabel, taking the reins, and a little bit of optimism maybe in Foxborough. We'll catch up with Mike. He'll give us a scoop on everything going on with the Patriots, and we'll see how close he thinks they are to unseating the perennial champions now in the AFC East, and that, of course, is the Buffalo Bills. Hey, a reminder, everybody, that tonight's show, as always, is brought to you by the official secondary market of the Captain Lou Extravaganza and the Captain Lou Sports Network, and that is SeatGeek. Use the promo code Captain Lou. It's on the bottom of the screen for $20 off your next purchase. If there's a game you want to go to, you want to get your tickets for the Patriots, the Jets, the Bills, whoever. Baseball, the pennant races are going long and hard right now. Go to SeatGeek. Get your tickets through them. And, of course, use the promo code Captain Lou for $20 off your purchase. It's that simple. It's free money. Why not? So again, go to SeatGeek, use the promo code Captain Lou for $20 off of your purchase. All right, the AFC East is what we are concentrating on tonight, and it all starts at the top, and that, of course, is with the reigning the reigning division champions, and that's the Buffalo Bills. As Chris Berman always used to like to say, nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, and Sean McDermott has done that over the years, but I know the fans in Orchard Park are getting a little bit restless. They want them to take that next step, and of course, that is going to the Super Bowl and winning that ultimate prize, something that has eluded the Buffalo Bills, even before the 90s. Of course, we all know the run, 4 straight years to the Super Bowl in the early 90s under Marv Levy, who, by the way, is celebrating his 100th birthday. How ironic would it be for the Buffalo Bills to get back to the big dance and maybe get over that elusive hump and get a Super Bowl victory for Marv and all the starving fans for the Bills Mafia in Buffalo. They've got a schedule right now that is really, it works to their advantage, I think. They've got, they're obviously their home game. That's going to be with the Ravens. That's on Sunday night, 8:20 NBC game. But then I got to tell you, they've got a pretty easy schedule that sets up nice. They've got to go to the Jets, which, what the Jets have to offer. Who knows? It's a rivalry game in week 2, but then they've got home games with the Dolphins, the Saints, and the Patriots. The Patriots are going to be improved, but it's a home game. Very easily could go 4-1 in that first 5 games. And if you're anybody else in the AFC East, you don't need that right now. Then they've got a couple of road games that are winnable. The Panthers and the Falcons. I mean, the Falcons, who knows with them, right? I mean, they're so up and down. I mean, is Michael Penix Jr., is he going to be the answer at quarterback? Are they finally going to live up to their potential down in Atlanta? It is a road game. I get it, as is the Panthers. So, we'll keep an eye on it. It's a Monday night game, that Falcons game too, by the way. So that's on the 13th of October. Then they come home to the Chiefs, then a road game to the Dolphins, and home to the Buccaneers. I mean, 2 out of those 3 is very easily possible. I mean, you're looking at 8-9 wins right out of the chute. And then, of course, they go to the Texans and go to the Steelers. Those are going to be 2 tough games right there. If they can get a split out of that, then they come home to the Bengals. Then they go to the Patriots and to the Browns. Who knows with the Cleveland? It's a dumpster fire there. We all know that. Who's going to be the starting quarterback by week 16? Probably Shador, unless he gets hurt. who knows with that room? I mean, Dylan Gabriel, don't know. Pickett, no. And Joe Flacco, and then they close at home with the Eagles and the Jets. That Eagles game could be very interesting. That's going to be a fun one to watch. That's the second to last week of the year. That's a Fox game right now at 4:25. It could be flexed, but I see a 13-win season right there for Buffalo. So, I mean, over 12.5 at plus 125. Anywhere you get to when you're starting to have to make a bet where they're going to win, 12 to 13 games, it's risky. Over 11.5, that's minus 175. The payout isn't as good. I'd probably lean more towards that one. I do like the over 12.5 getting, plus 125. So we'll obviously that'll change. If you want to get that kind of money right now, that's where I'd go. Now, as far as, their depth chart again, you look at their roster. Obviously, you got Josh Allen. Mitchell Trubisky's his backup if things go sour. Not a bad option for a backup, contrary to what people think of his Chicago days. I know there's probably 20 to 25 teams that would like to have him as a backup right now. Then you got James Cook with Ray Davis. The wide receiving core, Shakir, Coleman. Shakir, I don't know how healthy he's going to be at the beginning of the year. Coleman, he's a pretty good deep threat. I like Josh Palmer, but I like the tight end room that they've got in Buffalo with Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. And, they've got a very strong offensive line. The defense, again, how can you go wrong with that Oliver, Greg Rousseau, Joey Bosa at right defensive end? They picked him up this year as a free agent. He'll give them some snaps. He'll give them some games. He'll give them a few sacks. Maybe the backfield is where I'm a little bit worried about with the Buffalo Bills. But with that offense and with that scheme, I think they'll be in every game. There will be no blowouts in Buffalo with Buffalo. They're a Super Bowl contending team. I've got them going at least to the AFC Championship game. I think all roads may go through Buffalo this year to get to the Super Bowl. So we'll keep an eye on that. As give me Buffalo winning the division. I don't think there's really any question about that. It's just a matter of how many games are they going to win. And I've got Buffalo. I've got them going 13-4. So I would take the over at 12.5, getting plus 125. You're getting positive money back on that one. So give me Buffalo plus 12.5 wins coming into this regular season. Next up, we talked about it at the top. We've got a team that's, in transition. As I mentioned here, as I talked to Mike Debate from Sports Illustrated New England, transition, it's kind of an ugly word, but that's what it is right now. It's a transition year, coming in with Mike Vrabel. Reminds me a lot of Dan Campbell when he first came in. But hey, without any further ado, let's go back to a great interview I had yesterday. On Monday. Had a chance to sit down with the beat writer for SportsIllustrated.com, New England Patriots. That's Mike Debate. Let's see what he had to say about this year's New England Patriots.
I'm Lou. My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well as well.
Oh, absolutely. Beating the heat, but you know what? It's that time of year. I like it much more than the snow myself. So, the body stays a lot limber for me in the summertime.
Absolutely. Although there's some New Englanders up here that love it when the snow falls, especially when there's a game going on at Foxborough. There's always something interesting that happens in the snow for the Patriots up here. But I agree with you. I mean, I'd much rather be basking in the heat than, shoveling inches upon inches of snow.
Well, talk about the heat. We're knee deep in it, as you mentioned, with training camp entering our second preseason weekend for the Patriots. And of course, last year, I hate using the word a transition year, but when you had a couple of legends really recently with Tom Brady and then, of course, Bill Belichick, both gone, you had the Gerard Mayo experience. And needless to say, it didn't quite go as he had hoped and a lot of people had hoped, I'll bet.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I think that Like you said, Lou, you're dealing with the loss of a coaching legend in Bill Belichick, and had been up here for nearly a quarter century, guiding the Patriots to multiple division titles, multiple conference titles, 6 Super Bowl titles. You're just a couple of years removed from arguably the greatest of all time, leaving and taking his talents down to Tampa Bay. It's a transition for the New England Patriots. Pats fans weren't used to seeing their idols walk out the door, but as all good things, it had to come to an end. And I think with New England, it was a little bit more of a rough fall for them because there was still the aura that this team was trying to retool rather than completely tear down and rebuild. And I think if you look at it from 2020 hindsight, it was probably a better idea for them to do that right when Tom Brady walked out the door, tear it down, rebuild it, and then try to salvage the future and move forward. The Patriots obviously tried to go with Gerard Mayo last year, extremely popular in the locker room, very smart positional coach, knows his football. Gerard did not have difficulties here because of a lack of football knowledge or a lack of respect in that locker room. I think when you look at the head coaching position in this league, it's so different than being a positional coach, than being a coordinator. There is so much more that is asked of you. There is so much more that is required of you in that job. And I think without Gerard having held that position at any level before, I just think the job may have been a little bit too big for him at that time. So the Patriots wisely saw that. They made a tough transition. It was tough to let Gerard go, but when you see Mike Vrabel out there on the field with these guys in training camp and preseason, the Pats have made the right decision. This is the guy that can help rebuild things in Foxborough. And arguably, I think he's already off to a great start.
Boy, I'll tell you what, just from the outside looking in, Mike, early on, it sure does look like that. It's funny because he's a tough guy, but he's won a little bit at Tennessee. I think he did quite well there, as a matter of fact.
Oh yeah.
And he's been a winner on the field in New England. And I've heard a couple of comparisons. Well, let's see what he does as opposed to a guy like Matt Patricia came into Detroit with the tough guy attitude, and it didn't work. But I think this is going to be a lot different with Mike Vrabel at the helm.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, first of all, one of the things that I'll say about the Patricia experiment in Detroit, as opposed to bringing in Vrabel here to New England, Vrabel's got head coaching experience.
Yeah.
He's coming in already having guided the Tennessee Titans to playoff games, tight races. He knows how to coach through adversity, so he'll be right there in the thick of things with his team going through it. And his team can lean on him because they know he's been there before. He's been to the puppet show. He's seen the strings. So they can really lean on him as a young team with a young quarterback and a young core. And I think he's the ideal voice to do it. And he's still young enough to be able to identify with the guys in the locker room. Just the other night, you saw him get into or the other day, I should say. It happened the day before the preseason game. But during joint practices between the Patriots and the Commanders, Mike Vrabel got right in the middle of a scrum and tried to protect his players, and he's trying to protect the Commanders guys as well because he doesn't want them getting hurt on enemy territory. And for his efforts, he came up with a bloody cheek. And Mike is just, he got up, somebody asked him about it, and he says, yeah, you should see the other guy. So, I mean, it's one of those types of personalities that you want to follow. He's going to be tough on his players. He's going to demand a lot of them. But at the same time, he's also going to let them know, I've got your back at the end of the day. And when you have a guy that's willing to push you to your limits, but you know that he's got your best interest in heart, those players will play for him as hard as they can every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So that, I think, is going to be the biggest difference with Matt. I think he was coming into Detroit maybe without the resume to support a lot of what he was trying to implement. I think it fell flat in the locker room, and I can understand how that could happen. Again, an extremely knowledgeable football guy. Matt came, with a rocket, extremely smart man. But I think his message may have fallen flat because he didn't have that experience in the huddles behind him. Mike Vrabel doesn't have that problem. These guys know he was forged in the trenches, and they're going to play for him. They're going to play hard for him.
Well, Mike, one of the biggest, I guess, the one relationship that's going to obviously get the most publicity, it does with any team, is the head coach quarterback relationship. And from your vantage point, how has it been? I know it's early. How has it been so far with Drake May?
I think it's been a good transition. I think Drake enjoys being coached hard. And I think you can see that in him. He respects a lot of what Vrabel does. He knows that when Vrabel speaks, he's the type of guy that you listen to and you take everything to heart. Now, from Vrabel's standpoint, he's going to be a little harder on Drake than Sherrod was last year in his rookie season. He knows that he can push Drake to the limit, and he needs to push him to find out exactly how much he's capable of handling. I think Patriots fans are going to be very pleasantly surprised by the amount this kid can take and keep moving forward. You're already seeing on the field him have difficulties and adversity. In the preseason game last weekend against the Commanders, there was a little bit of a twist in front. Bad communication by Will Campbell, the rookie left tackle, and Jared Wilson, the rookie left guard. It resulted in a fumble. And Mike Vrabel was very matter of fact after the game. He said, that's on our quarterback. He's got to be better, and he knows it. Drake took to the podium. He says, I've got to be better. I know it as well. But I look at how he responded within the game. His very next drive, he led a touchdown drive. And albeit preseason, it still shows a resilience and a desire to correct the mistakes and move forward. That, I think, is the biggest difference I'm seeing with Drake this year. He's not falling into quicksand when he makes mistakes or has difficulties. He's getting right back on the horse and getting right back into it. That is a big, a big part of that is his relationship with Mike Vrabel, but I think an unsung part of that is his relationship with his coordinator, Josh McDaniels, who, again, has worked with arguably the greatest in the world and has worked with some very high-level, high-talented quarterbacks. Josh knows what this kid's capabilities are going to be, and he's going to push him to another level.
Mike D'Abate is joining us from SI. He covers the New England Patriots and kind enough to talk a little Patriots football with us as we take a look at the AFC East. Mike, let's look at your draft this year for the Patriots. And I got to tell you, I said this draft night. I thought one of the best picks was getting Will Campbell out of LSU. I was hoping somehow Detroit would trade up and try to go after this guy. I just love that pick. I think he's going to be such a settling force for Drake May and for the running game for the New England Patriots.
Oh, without question. Will, to me, has been worth everything that he's gotten in terms of preseason hype. And I really, really like what this kid can do. And I really like the ability that he brings to the table. He's an excellent run blocker. We've seen that at LSU. We know that he has that capability. But so much was put preseason, so much was put during the offseason, pre-draft, about his wingspan and about his arm length and whether or not they were going to be able to compensate for that. Several players that I've spoken to and several former coaches of offensive lines that I've spoken to since that time have all said it's really about the heart rather than, a quarter of an inch here or there when it comes to the arm length. And Will, to me, I think has done a great job. He's held up well by and large in his pass blocking, in his one-on-ones, which really I think is the great litmus test for any offensive lineman when you're looking at what they're able to do in a game setting. When you look at them in one-on-one situations, whether it be within the same squad at practice or joint practices with the Commanders, or even in the preseason game against the Commanders last week, he's holding up pretty well. He's taking his assignments, and he's holding up against some pretty high level talent. So to me, that always speaks very well about what this kid can do. But he also has a leadership ability beyond his years. He's commanding the respect of that line and already acting like an elder statesman on that line, taking a lot of the line's identity and putting it on his shoulders. I think he's very cognizant of the role he was drafted to play here in New England. And when you have a player like that, he's an anchor for your team for a number of years. So Patriots came into this season with a big question at left tackle. I don't think they have that question anymore. Will Campbell's a keeper.
Yeah, he reminds me so much of when Detroit drafted Penei Sewell. I think he's going to be a good, solid bookend for you guys for the next decade or so. Now, the rest of the draft, obviously I've seen a lot of Travion Henderson, living here in Big Ten country, but give me someone that the Patriots drafted maybe in the later rounds, 4th, 5th, 6th round, whatever, that could maybe make a difference that we don't know about.
Oh, there's actually a couple. A lot of people because the Patriots made a lot of splashes with their offensive picks, whether it be Will Campbell or whether it be Travion Henderson, who returned his first touch in the NFL for a 100-yard, touchdown kick return. What better way to ingratiate yourself into the NFL universe than by doing that? But two guys that I think are going to stand out. One is already standing out in training camp and turning a lot of heads is safety Craig Woodson out of California. This kid is already taken to this overly aggressive, more, 4-down defense that this unit wants to run under Mike Vrabel and under coordinator Terrell Williams, who you guys know very well from his time in Detroit. That's an aggressive style of defense, and Craig fits right into it. He plays the free safety extremely well, allows guys like Jabril Peppers and Del Pettis, the second-year hitter out of former undrafted free agent last year, who's really come on and done a great job. I think these guys recognize their role and they're playing it very, very well. Right as we speak, a lot of people were wondering if Craig has done enough to unseat Kyle Duggar, who's been a mainstay on this defense this year, on this defense the last few years since being drafted in 2020. I think a lot of people were wondering whether or not Craig might be able to come in and play that role and do a fairly good job. He's getting many more reps with the first team unit than Kyle did. So that's one that I would look at and say, I think he'll make an immediate difference in this secondary. The other, I think, hasn't really popped as he will, as he's expected to, and that's Braden Swinson, other defensive tackle out of LSU. This kid has the ability to get after the quarterback. He's very good in pass protection. He's very good in pass rush, and he's very good in run as well and trying to stop that. This kid is a very multifaceted defender, and I think once he finds his niche, he's really going to find a home in this Patriots defense. He's got aggression all over him, and again, to have a young guy like that waiting in the wings behind some of these talented guys he's got in front of him is only a collection of riches for the Pats moving forward. So those are the two guys that I would look at under the radar right now that may not be household names, but in a couple of years, you'll hear these names on broadcast quite often.
So, Mike, we obviously know that this is, again, I hate using the word transition year, but this is going to be a year. The team's young, obviously. You got a lot of great talent that's waiting to develop. What do you think is going to be the biggest improvement that you're looking to see out of the Patriots here in 2025?
I think responding to adversity, I think playing more clean, more fundamentally sound football, and I think also being able to win games that maybe they should have won in years past that they didn't because of committing mental mistakes, because of not being as prepared as they need to be, not being in position. You're not going to see that with the New England Patriots moving forward. The one thing that Mike Vrabel and all of his staff, and we had an opportunity to speak with some of the assistant coaches on Monday morning prior to their departure to go out and play an exhibition game against Minnesota this weekend. They were really preaching for, all intents and purposes, their desire to make sure that this team is as flawless as it can be. Don't commit costly turnovers. Don't commit costly penalties. The Patriots have been much more disciplined. We haven't seen them get whistled too many times in a practice setting or in a scrimmage setting for penalties. That was happening a lot during camp last year, and it really kind of spilled over into the season. And even the last couple of years under Bill Belichick up here, this was not a very disciplined football team. And it seems to go against the grain for the Patriots, who really were always that club that you could never count on to beat themselves. If you wanted to beat them, you had to take it to them. Last couple of years, the Patriots had beaten themselves quite often with moves that left you scratching your head. You're not going to see that this year. I think Mike Vrabel is running a very tight ship, and he's going to make sure that these guys protect the football, that these guys make sure to hang on to it, make smart decisions with it. And then on the opposite side of the field, you're going to see them make more aggressive moves to take the football away and really control not only the line of scrimmage, but also control the time of possession. If they start doing that, they're going to be a tough out no matter who they play.
Well, let's take a look at that schedule. I've looked at it a few times. I've dissected it. Now, I kind of like how it lays out, and where they're at with the plus or for the over/under on the wins is at 8.5 or 8, depending on which book you look at. But I want to take a look at the schedule because they start out with 3 of their first 4 games at home. they've got the Raiders, which I think is winnable. They go to the Dolphins, which I think they're a mess. Then you've got the Steelers and the Panthers at home. And, I love that setup because those are very winnable games that can really boost their confidence.
If this team comes out and they come out strong and they show an ability to be able to remain in lockstep with their opponent, then those are all winnable games. You're absolutely right. So New England can start off and really make and set the tone for a very positive season early on. And I think that's going to be a big key for this team. If they can get some wins early and show that they're going to be formidable, it's only going to help them down the stretch. And from start to finish, there are a lot of winnable games on this schedule that the Patriots can play. I mean, obviously there are a few that, you're looking at and going, yeah, they're not quite there yet. I mean, obviously, you got Baltimore, you got Buffalo. I mean, these are still the class of that, conference. And it's going to be tough for the Patriots, to beat teams that seasoned in battle the last few years. But again, if they're able to keep things close, you never know what could happen on any given Sunday. So, yeah, I think a strong start and a fast start could mean big things for the New England Patriots if they want to surprise some people this year.
Because they start out with those games. Let's just say they go 3-1, be realistic. Then they've got that 3-game stretch on the road you mentioned at Buffalo. Then they go to New Orleans and at Tennessee. But again, New Orleans and Tennessee, they're not the 63 Packers here. So, right. I mean, if you can win one of those 3, that would put you at 4 wins. And then again, Browns at home, Falcons at home, Jets at home, 3 out of 4 again at home. I mean, again, you can get up to 7 wins, 6, 7 wins, and that going into right around Thanksgiving. And then after that, you never know. And that's why I love this schedule for them. And I really like the over-under at 8.5.
Yeah, I like the over-under at 8.5 as well. It's kind of where I'm hovering right now. And, we're getting down into the nitty-gritty of the postseason, the preseason, and the regular season's right on the cusp. So going to be doing a whole lot of prognosticating. What's the 53-man roster going to look like? What are they going to look like in terms of the schedule? I really think they can live up to that hype and maybe even eclipse it if they get a couple of breaks here and there. This is a more fundamentally sound team than I expected to see in training camp, and that's a pleasant surprise. And again, a lot of it's going to hinge on how Drake May plays in his second year and the poise and the level of leadership he's able to bring to each game. If he's able to respond the way I believe he's able to respond, I think the Patriots can be a tough out no matter which game they play this season.
And then, of course, they end the regular season, as a lot of teams do, with a couple of, conference games. I'm not saying that New England's ready to maybe challenge Buffalo for the division, but if they're sitting there, December 28th with, 8 wins, and they've got a road game at the Jets and home against the Dolphins, they've got something to play for, which, normally in the last couple of decades, that's not an issue with New England. But after last year, having something to play for in the holidays, I think will be a great step for the Patriots.
Yeah. It was funny, Lou. The other day I was talking to a colleague of mine, and I remember every year under Bill Belichick and under Tom Brady, it felt like I would dust off, the old Game of Thrones reference, and I'd write the winter is coming, column that I'd be, ready yourself, because here comes Bill Belichick, here comes Tom Brady, and here come the New England Patriots storming through the months of November and December heading into January. That is certainly not the case anymore for the Patriots. As a matter of fact, they've been worse in those months than in the early stages of the season. So now it's going to be about sustaining any type of momentum that they build. And to me, I think the most intriguing matchups on the schedule are going to be games where they have to play through a little adversity. Yeah. I want to see how they're going to look coming out of a late bye. Is this team still playing at a high level and still giving everything they have to head coach Mike Vrabel? It pains me to say this, but they didn't do that last year, under Gerard Mayo. This team came out of the bye looking very lethargic, looking very listless, and they limped toward the end of the season and really did not show any type of mettle until the final game. And some Patriots fans were still a little upset that they won that game. I'm not going to go there right now, but everything happens for a reason. So who
Yeah.
knows? They've got Will Campbell in here right now. He's supposedly the guy they wanted all along. So I don't think they're, crying too much at the front offices at One Patriots Place. But again, I think that those types of matchups are going to be where this team really cuts its own identity. And I think that's going to be the telltale sign of whether they've bought into Vrabel style and whether this is sustainable for the foreseeable future. Again, right now it looks very promising, but that's why they play these games, on the field rather than as opposed to on paper.
Well, I'm just going to make one Dan Campbell comparison with Mike Vrabel. I think Mike Vrabel's a little bit better, only because your point earlier in the conversation, he's been a head coach already for more than 7 games, like Campbell was in Miami on an interim basis. But the reason I want to compare it, and I think the players are going to love to play for the guy. They'll go through a wall for him, and I think that's just going to be night and day in Foxborough,
Oh, yeah, and you're already seeing it. And actually, I think the comparison to Dan Campbell is very apt. And I was one of the guys that right from the start when Detroit hired him, I said, this is going to be a great hire for the Detroit Lions. The guys up there are going to play so hard for him. And just the city, the environment, everything. I think he fits it so well and is the perfect steward for that type of team and that type of environment. And you really see that with Mike Vrabel up here in New England. And you're hearing it from the guys when we speak to them post-practice and you ask them their impression of Mike Vrabel. The first thing that they say is, oh, yeah, pushes us hard, but boy, I tell you, the guy is great. He knows what he's doing. He's got everything in control. We love playing for him. I love playing for him. Nonstop energy, nonstop, work ethic. And I think players appreciate that. You've got, some guys on this team. Keon White is one I'll call out, and he's been very vocal about the fact that he loves the addition of Mike Vrabel to this team and said, I like to be pushed. I like to be coached hard. He's giving us everything we can handle, if not more. And he says, and that's what I want. That's what I want to have. So I really do believe that they'll respond in kind. They've already done it to a certain extent. We'll see what happens in the regular season. But so far, it's looking like the Patriots made the right hire in bringing Mike Vrabel in.
All right, Mike, just a couple of minutes left. We'll get you out of here. I want to just kind of get your maybe thumbnail cliff note sketch, your vision of the AFC East. Obviously, it's Buffalo's for the taking. I know New England is improving, but I think they're a year or two away maybe from unseating them. The Jets, I love the guy. I love Aaron Glenn. He did wonders for a while with Detroit with the defense. I know he was hamstrung with all the injuries last year, but boy, oh boy, does he got his work cut out for him in New York. Miami, I don't know what the hell's going on down there. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I really think you've done a very job and a very adequate job of describing exactly what my vision of the AFC East would be. Look, I think the Buffalo Bills are still the class of that division, and they will be until someone unseats them. Okay. Again, they've had battle tests. They've got the best quarterback in the division without question in Josh Allen. Their running game, I think, is very effective, with James Cook and Ray Davis and what they were able to do. Defensively, Buffalo is always formidable, and they always reinvent ways to give opposing quarterbacks and opposing offenses fits. They'll still be, I think, the division champions. But with you look at what the New England Patriots have done to try to mitigate what the Jets do well and what the Dolphins do well, I think New England right now is very well poised to be able to hang and maybe even push some of their best games back into their face, meaning the Jets and the Dolphins. Yeah. You mentioned Aaron Glenn, and I think Aaron is going to be a very good coach for the Jets. I've always been a fan of his, and I think he was the right hire there. Mm-hmm. But until they figure out completely long-term what the quarterback situation is going to be, is it going to be Justin, or are they going to go in a different direction? I think that team right now is a wild card. They've got a lot of talent, but the question is whether or not this year is enough to bring it all together. So the Jets could be a very good team. The Jets could be a very poor team. I think we're going to have to see how they look on the field before the jury is out. The Dolphins are an enigma to me right now. Again, there's a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. They're talented individuals, but can they play as a cohesive unit? Is the bloom off the rose a little bit when it comes to Mike McDaniel? Are we
Yes.
looking at a guy that I think had some innovative offensive ideas without any question and gave a lot of teams difficulty, including the Patriots? But at the same time, is that sustainable? Is this something that he can continue and keep up? Can he manage the egos in that room and get everyone on the same page? That's going to be the biggest question for them this year. So New England has to focus on their schedule. They have to focus on their improvements and listen to Mike Vrabel and ignore the outside noise and not buy into the hype one way or another. If they do that, they could string some wins together. And then by the time they get into the divisional fights, and they have some pretty interesting matchups toward the end of the season. So right now, I would say the Patriots could finish anywhere from second to fourth in this division based on how the other teams come out and based on how they play. But I'll go out on a limb here and say I do not believe the Patriots are going to finish last in this division this year. I do think there's too much talent, and I think they're going to be too well coached to finish in the cellar of this division this year. So whether that means second or third, yeah, I think the jury's still out on that one for me, but I don't think they'll be last again this year.
Well, Mike, I like the schedule that they've got and where it's set up. And I'm going to bet a couple of pizza pies on that over on 8.5 to get to 9. I think they're a 9-8 team, and it's even money right now on the book. So, yeah, I think it's pizza pies, a couple of them, double cheese.
Absolutely. I actually have them the same way as well. I actually have them as a 9-8 football team right now. So, I think it's exciting times up here in Foxborough. It's fun times, especially with what they've been through the last few years. But I know no one's shedding any tears for the Patriots outside of New England. They still got a lot of modern success that a lot of teams haven't had. So before we try to look for sympathy up here, I think it's wise for us to say, hey, you know what? We've had our struggles, but it could have been a lot worse.
He's Mike Debate. He writes for Sports Illustrated, the New England Patriots. Mike, thanks for taking time out to be with us on our preview show. Keep up the great work, and hope to catch up with you down the road.
Absolutely, Lou. Thanks so much for having me on. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. That, of course, Mike Debate from SportsIllustrated.com, SI.com, covers the New England Patriots. Great preview with him. Great conversation. If you missed any of it, of course, it's on our YouTube channel, which we invite you to subscribe to get all of our interviews that we have on all of our extravaganzas, all of our extravagant few minutes episodes, you name it. But again, thanks to Mike for taking time out to be with us. And yeah, it's 8.5 is the over-under for the New England Patriots. And that is even money right now. So if you're looking for something, I know my producer over there, she's looking for something. I don't know if she's looking for something to put on the over for 8.5. We'll have to wait and see on that. So we're going to go with 8.5. The over, we're going to take it. It's plus 100. So again, that's two teams right now with the over bets that we're going to go with here on the extravaganza. All right. What is my producer looking for over there? I'm not sure. She's digging away at something, trying to find another nugget maybe to bet on on the AFC East promo. So, all right. Again, thanks to Mike Debate from SI Sports Illustrated for coming on the show. All right. Let's take a quick look at New England, or I'm sorry, at the Jets and at Miami. But before we do that, again, a reminder that the show, as always, is brought to you by the official secondary market of the Captain Lou Sports Network, and that is SeatGeek. Any games you want to go to this year? MLB with the stretch run, the pennant races are getting into high gear. Wild card races, college football starting up real soon. The NFL, of course, kicking off on September the 4th. Go to SeatGeek. Use the promo code Captain Lou. It's at the bottom of the screen right there, and you will get yourself $20 off your first purchase. It's that simple. It's free money. So go to SeatGeek, the official secondary market of the Captain Lou Sports Network, and use the promo code Captain Lou, and you will get that $20 off your purchase discount. So again, SeatGeek, the official secondary market of the Captain Lou Sports Network, and all of our extravaganza episodes. All right, let's take a quick look at Miami and at the New York Jets. And Miami, I said it with talking with Mike a little while ago. I don't know what's going on down there. They do have some talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they've gotten a little bit older, but they've got a good front seven. Not real enamored with their back four either, but they've got some talent there. But again, it's all going to rely on the health of Ashane and Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, Tua's had his opportunities. I don't know how many chances he's had, and it's if he could stay healthy, that's a big if. And again, they've got some head cases there with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Waddle can't stay healthy. I mean, Tyreek Hill, you don't know what you're going to get with him, and who knows with Darren Waller. Is his head more on rap music, or is he going to be in the game? And probably the biggest question mark of it all for the Miami Dolphins is going to be their offensive line. If they can keep Tua upright, they may have a shot. Now, if you look at Miami's schedule, they start out, they've got the Colts on the road, then they got Patriots at home, but then they go to Buffalo. So you're looking at best, a 2-1 start, more than likely probably 1-2. Then it might get a little bit easier for them. The next couple of games, the Jets at home, that's a winnable game. The Panthers is a toss-up. So, I mean, there's so many toss-up games on this schedule. Their road schedule isn't that bad because they go to the Falcons, they go to the Browns, but then they've got two very, very difficult home games after that with Buffalo and with Baltimore. I don't see them winning either one of them. Another home game with the Commanders. That's going to be a tough one. The thing they've got going for them is it's at home. And then they've got another, this stretch of 4 home games. I see them going 2-2 out of those 4. And you need to go at least 3 out of 4 to make hay to try to get a playoff push. Then they're at Pittsburgh, toss-up game. Home against the Bengals and the Buccaneers. Boy, I just don't know. The over-under for the Miami Dolphins is 7.5. If you want to take a chance and go over 8.5, it's plus 150. I'm staying away from that one. I'm not even going to touch it. They're anywhere from a 5-win to a 9-win team. I think it's more along the lines of probably a 5 to 6-win team. Under 7.5 is at minus 115. I just have no confidence. I think the Mike McDaniel experience is it's run its course in Miami. I think he's definitely on the hot seat. And then you look at New York Jets. They got a new coach, Aaron Glenn. God love him. Of course, the defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. We saw him do great things with the Lions, help with the rebuild, get the Lions back near the top, one of the Super Bowl contenders. Now he takes over a dumpster fire. Now we're going to see how this goes. This first year, I think, is going to be rough for him. Now, with all due respect to Justin Fields, he's never had anything to work with as a starter. I mean, he didn't get much of a chance, obviously, in Pittsburgh. Chicago was kind of a dumpster fire there. He was up and down. He still's got the legs. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's not going to be one that's going to lead you to the promised land. I think he's a stopgap. And you got Tyrod Taylor, who I think has played for just about every team in the National Football League as his backup. Now, they got Breece Hall, and they've got Garrett Wilson. 2 big playmakers right there. So Fields is going to have someone to throw to. But you got Josh Reynolds, who can't hold on to the ball. Alan Lazard, I think his days have gone by his better days. Mason Taylor doesn't scare me at tight end. And again, this is going to come down to their blocking, their offensive line. And I think it's subpar at best. This is a work in progress. They've got a very good above average defense to the Jets. And I think that's going to keep them in some games. They can get any kind of quarterback play, they could get to 8 wins. Now, their over-under is 6.5. Let's take a look at their schedule real quick. And it's kind of, we can go through it. They start out with 2 home games versus the Steelers in Buffalo. They could split those. That's my best case scenario. Then they've got 2 road games. I think they could split those, in all honesty. The Dolphins and the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are tough, no doubt about it. But they've got a Monday night game against the Dolphins at Miami. So let's say 2-2 there. Then they've got 3 home games where I think they could win 2 out of 3. I'm not sold on the Cowboys. And then you've got the Broncos and the Panthers. All of a sudden, they win 2 out of those 3. Now you're looking at a 4-3 team. Then is where it gets a little bit difficult. At the Bengals versus the Browns at home, then at the Patriots, at the Ravens. That's 1-3 at best. So now you're looking at 5-6 maybe. Then they're home against the Falcons and the Dolphins, 2 winnable games. Let's go with 7-6 right there. Then you go to Jacksonville and the Saints, 8-7, home to the Patriots and at the Bills, 2 losses maybe. So you're looking at 7-8 wins. The over/under is 6.5. Boy, I'd like that at plus 125. They're going to be right there at 6 wins. That's a toss-up. I think I'm still sticking with my first 2 teams for the over-unders. I really like the 12.5 for Buffalo, but I like my best over-under bet, in my opinion, in the AFC East right now is going to be the New England Patriots getting over 8.5 wins at even money. I might take a flyer on the Jets at plus 125 to get over 6.5 wins, or plus 120, I mean. Your best bet is probably, I know it's not the greatest payout, but it's minus 155 is over 5.5. I'm going to have to think about that 6.5 here for another week or 2 before I put any cheese on that or any pizza pies. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So my AFC East winner is going to be Buffalo. Obviously, it's Buffalo going away. Is there another playoff team in the AFC East? I'm going to say no, because I think you're going to get 2 teams out of the AFC North and at least 2, if not 3, out of the AFC West. So I think New England will be right there in the end of December, but I think they're a year away from getting back to the playoffs. But they'll play for they'll play for Mike Vrabel. There's no doubt about it. But the class of this division is going to be Buffalo, and I think they're going to be the only playoff team in the AFC East. And I think they're going to be a Super Bowl playing. They're going to be in the AFC Championship game. I think all roads are going to go through Buffalo. All right, that's going to do it. Again, want to thank Mike Debate for joining us from SI.com covering the New England Patriots. Great insight on the Patriots. And I want to thank you, the viewer, for taking time out to be with us here tonight, welcoming us into your homes, on your computers, on your laptops, however you watched us around the world here on the Captain Lou Sports Network. Check the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube and also our Facebook page, the Captain Lou Extravaganza, and on X, as we'll give you listings on when all of our previews are going to be for all 8 divisions. The next one's coming up next week. So, all right, that's going to do it. Captain Lou saying keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. So long, everybody.